Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, Nephilim, all sorts of people out there who love to play Diablo 3. It's Leviathan back here again with another build for you guys. This is something that I've been using all throughout Season 5 to do my greater rifts. It's the Thorns of the Invoker set, the Thorns Crusader, Thornsader, however you want to call it. It's been awesome so far, and we're going to go and highlight today a particular build, a particular setup, and some different variations on that same setup that you can use to do some greater rifts. I've been playing hardcore and speed farming some GR65s just to get my gems leveled up, doing GR60s with friends from time to time. And as of today, I have cleared up to GR72 with this build. So I wanted to kind of get it showcased here and give you guys an idea of how it's been working for me now that I kind of know what it's capable of and have some idea of how high it could climb up. So right now we're going to switch into some gameplay footage for you. I have that GR72 clear queued up, and this is footage that was pre-recorded when I was on my stream just earlier today, maybe a couple of hours ago. And so the idea behind Thorns is that, it wasn't a stat that was very good prior to patch 2.4. Crusaders had some passives and things for it, and there was actually a time where Thorns was kind of bugged, so it actually worked really well, but that was the only time that people were really utilizing it. And so throughout the course of a couple of different patches, Blizzard did some things to make Thorns a little bit more interesting. They made it scale off of main stat to start out, and so you could actually get, if you had a high enough main stat, some decent Thorns damage from when monsters would just hit you and things like that. But it was so negligible compared to the amount of damage that people were just doing through their normal builds, you never really noticed it. Now that Thorns of the Invoker, which used to be a 4-piece set, got reworked in patch 2.4 to be a Crusader specific set and to be a 6-piece set, we actually have a really strong class set that can be used to clear pretty high GRs. Right now, a lot of what you're seeing in terms of popularity is the Legacy of Nightmares Bombardment build, and that's using the 2 rings, the Willing Host and Litany of the Undaunted. So maybe that's a different video for a different time, but right now we're using, personally, the Thorns of the Invoker set to get our Thorns damage done, and I'm really loving it. And I'll go into kind of the details of the set and everything like that once we get through some of this gameplay footage, but at least just want to show you how it operates in the wild. You can see it's really tanky, so we just put ourselves in the middle of stuff. One of the bonuses of the set is that when you block or when you deal damage with Punish or Slash, you get these stacks that make your Thorns damage multiply. And I believe it's 25% per stack now. That number went through some variation during the PTR for patch 2.4. I'm pretty sure it's down to 25% now. But with Provoke as well, which is one of the skills you can use depending on the shields that you're going to employ. And again, we'll get into this as soon as I hop into the gear section. It's a really strong skill, Provoke, because you'll have a lot of mobs just attacking you all at once. And that means you'll be able to get tons and tons of those multipliers to do crazy amounts of damage with your Thorns. And the idea is that your generator your generator Punish or Slash is what's dealing your Thorns damage for you. So the set enables it so that when you use that generator, it deals your Thorns damage, and then the set itself has some ways to bolster that damage even further with the 6-piece bonus, and then you get some toughness from using Bombardment, and we're activating that with Belt of the Trove. You can see I don't even have Bombardment on my skill bar right now, but because Belt of the Trove activates Bombardment every 6 to 8 seconds depending on the power that you get on your legendary belt, then that means you always have uptime on it, because the damage mitigation that you get from the 4-piece bonus of Thorns of the Invoker lasts for 20 seconds, so there's always overlap as long as there's things for the bombardment belt to target and cast bombardment. So you can see this is kind of how the build operates. You run around, you don't really want to fight off like 1 or 2 mobs here or there. You really want high density, because there is a little bit of an AoE component built into your damage that you're dealing with your Thorns thanks to the 2-piece bonus. So you want to have a lot of stuff surrounding you, and it's really a build where you just kind of target the elites. You want to target some high progress mobs as well, like here we're targeting a lot of the Death Maidens. They give good progress, but for the most part we're going to skip a lot of the like skeletons and things like that because they just don't give you good progression. And then you're really just hunting elites. That's what this build is really good at, killing super quickly. So that's what's going to get you your progression through the rift and keep you ahead of the timer. But we'll get back to this video. Don't you worry. I'll show you the Greater Rift kill, the Greater Rift Guardian kill at the end. But for now, we'll pause it and we'll head into the actual game right over here. And let me bring it up on my screen as well too, and we'll show you some of the skills, stats, gear, all that good stuff. So first off, let's go ahead and do gear. Or sorry, we'll do skills. Just kidding. So here are the skills. We have Punish with Celerity, and again I'm using Punish because that's the one that gives you some block chance with it actually. So you can see at that secondary part, when you block with Hardened Senses active, you gain 15% increased attack speed for 3 seconds. That's the Celerity rune. But then for the actual Punish itself, you get a 15% block chance for 5 seconds, and you always have that up. So it's adding to your sheet's block chance, and that's really important because block is, as I was mentioning, really good for this build since you get stacks off of block. Here we have Akarat's Champion with Hasteful. I like Hasteful because you get some attack speed increases. You can also go with Prophet, which is a really tanky one. As you go up into higher GRs, you probably want to use Prophet just for that damage, extra damage reduction. When I'm speed farming GRs, I'm usually using Hasteful just for the extra damage. And then of course Akarat's Champion itself just gives you more damage as well too. And because we're using a certain shield, Akarat's Awakening, we're actually getting a lot of CDR reduction on this skill. So even though it's a long cooldown, or so it seems, it doesn't actually turn out to be. You have a lot of uptime on it throughout a Greater Rift. Then we have Steed Charge with Endurance, and we really just use that to ride around and take us, like I was saying, we have to skip around. You know, certain density is just not good enough to stick around. You'll lose time rather than gain any time from fighting it. So we don't go with Endurance, or sorry, so we go with Steed Charge Endurance in order to help us move around the map a little faster. There is a Thorns rune for it now, Spiked Barding, but I find that the damage from it is so negligible that it's really not worth it to take. So instead of going with Spiked Barding, which you think would synergize well with Thorns, and it does, I mean, you can use it for some of the like speed farming, like bounties and lower difficulty type stuff, but in high GRs, it's such a negligible source of damage. I like to go with Endurance just for the extra duration on the horse. Next, we have Laws of Justice with Decaying Strength. This is a really tanky law choice. It gives you a ton of increased resistance, and then when you activate it, you get even more increased resistance. But then this part of the law, if you're choosing this rune as well, actually makes it so that for your allies as well, whenever you get attacked by enemies, they have their damage reduced for 15% for 5 seconds, and that scales up to 4 stacks, so 60%, which is really, really strong. So you definitely want that when you're going up into those higher GRs. Some options that also exist, especially if you have other Crusaders in your group. One of them can take Laws of Hope with Wings of Angel just for the movement speed boost, and that helps you move from pack to pack faster. If you're by yourself and you just want a more offensive law, you can definitely go with Laws of Valor Invincible. That one's pretty good as well too, just for some life on hit, and then more attack speed. Something worth mentioning, you're like, why not critical? That's always one of the strongest offensive choices. Well, Thorns don't crit. They made it that way on purpose, so critical hit chance, critical hit damage does not factor into this build at all. So you don't want it on any of your gear. You'll see our gear looks really interesting because we're not gearing for any of those normal stats that usually boost up your damage. Next, we have Iron Skin, Reflective Skin, and this is a super strong ability here. It scales with your Thorns. It gives you some more just increased Thorns damage, and that actually adds on to your 6-piece bonus, which if you don't know yet, we'll show you the 6-piece. The 6-piece bonus is that the attack of speed and slash are increased by 50% and deal 600% of your Thorns damage to the first enemy hit. So that reflective skin adds on to that, so it becomes 900%. So this is really like, you want to activate Iron Skin as much as possible because that's what your main source of damage is. It's kind of like a bursty play, but you want to time Iron Skin, especially if you're using Convention of Elements, time it so that you're getting that perfect just burst damage, huge amounts. And I say Convention of Elements, you're like, wait, what element would you be wanting to care about? Well, Thorns has its damage amplified by physical elements. So whenever you have physical on your bracers, on your amulet, and when it gets to that physical portion of Convention of Elements, that's what you're really looking for. And then here, Provoke with Hit Me. Hit Me is an amazing rune because when you activate Provoke, you get that 50% increased block chance. And again, we mentioned block is huge, so you want that. And then Provoke in general, again, works nicely because it pulls some aggro, taunts the enemies to come and hit you. We don't care about Wrath because we don't spend any Wrath at all. There's no spender in this build. But you want that Provoke just for them all hitting you. And then, of course, like I mentioned, if you're using a certain shield, it's really good synergy. And so we have the Voitoya Spiker, and enemies affected by Provoke take double damage from Thorns. So it's pretty important if you're using that shield to also have Provoke on your bar and to have it in use. Lastly, our passives. It's a one-handed build. You want to use a fast attacking one-handed weapon, and we'll get into some of the weapon choices, but the one that's mainly being used right now is the Pig Sticker, and I'll tell you why in a moment here. But Fervor is really good because you get that one-handed bonus, which gives you attack speed increase and CDR, cooldown reduction increase. So you want both of those. That's really important for the Thorns build. So this is an amazing passive. Indestructible, because again, it is hardcore, and just in general, you don't want to die, so if you're going up into those higher GRs, kind of nice to be able to cheat death. Iron Maiden, absolutely 100% mandatory. It increases your Thorns by 50%. You're a Thorns Crusader, you have to take that. And then here you have a little bit of wiggle room. Hold Your Ground was increased in patch 2.4, so now it gives you 30% block chance, which is huge. That adds to your sheet, so you can get a lot of block chance from that. But some people also like Finery as well too. And so that's just going to multiply your strength up and up, because we have a lot of gems as per usual. That means your strength will be increased by a certain percent for every gem, and you want that because you're going to have a ton of augments that you're putting on your gear with the Caldesan's Despair cube recipe, and also just from Paragon too. And you're wondering, wait, why strength? But I mentioned strength has some scaling with Thorns, and also it actually multiplies your Thorns, so you want a lot of strength. So that's your skills in a nutshell. There is, like I was mentioning, some options that you can take, and there's also, if you don't like Akarat's champion, you can also go with Consecration, which got a Thorns rune as well, Bed of Nails, and that does some nice damage to you. It also does nice damage to the enemies, not you, and it also heals you a little bit too. So it's some nice AoE, because the AoE component of Thorns is very small. That's one of the kind of downsides of the build, so you want to potentially use this to widen your AoE a little bit. It's a variant. Let's go into the gear. So it's the 6-piece Thorns of the Invoker set, and I'll go over all the different set bonuses here since we hadn't mentioned them all yet. The 2-piece set, your Thorns damage hits all enemies in a 15-yard radius, so that's that little AoE I was telling you. It's a very small cone. It's like, you know, that big maybe, right around. You also, each time you hit an enemy with Punish, Slash, or you block an attack, your Thorns is increased by 25% for 2 seconds. So those are those stacks I was talking about. So this is why attack speed is actually pretty important to the build as well too, because if you can get more attacks per second, then you're going to build up more of those stacks before that 2-second period ends. And then with the blocks coming in as well, you can get tons of stacks. I've seen up to like 20, 25, sometimes 30 if you're super surrounded. It's really awesome. The 4-set bonus, you take 50% less damage for 20 seconds after damaging an enemy with bombardment. So the catch there is that you have to damage an enemy with the bombardment. If you were to have bombardment on your build, on your bar, then you could cast it, but if you cast it and you don't hit anything, you actually aren't going to proc this effect, and you won't get the damage reduction. So that's important. And I should mention too that, you know, if you could find a way, you can also throw in bombardment as a skill as well. It got a Thorns rune, Barrel of Spikes, and that's the one that you're seeing featured in a lot of the Legacy of Nightmares bombardment builds. So that's something to be aware of, but we don't use that in our setup. And then the 6-piece bonus, like I was mentioning, the attack speed of Punish and Slash are increased by 50% and deal 600% of your Thorns damage to the first enemy hit. So we're using Punish again because it gives you that extra block chance percent, but you could go with Slash too. Slash has a little bit more AoE to it, just a very little bit, but to me it's a little bit negligible, and you don't get that block synergy, which is so huge. And with Zeal, you do get attack speed increase as well too. There are some other nice runes like Electrify, you can get some stuns in there. But actually stunning mobs is kind of counterintuitive. It's weird because you're thinking, oh, don't attack me, I'll be safer. But if they're not attacking you, then you're not getting the chance to block, and then you don't get more of the bonuses to kill faster. So it's this weird interplay, but I like Punish the most, and I like Celerity the most for Punish. Back to the gear. So 6-piece Invokers. Here I'll just show all the different pieces. On the helm, I like Strength Vit. You can go all res or life on hit. I kind of trade off between the two depending on what I get on my bracers. But Strength Vit, all res in a socket. All res again could be swapped for life on hit. Bracers, you want physical percent damage, Strength Vit, and life on hit, all res, whatever have you. All of the Thorns of the Invoker pieces roll with Thorns damage as a secondary, so that's always good. You want to look out for those values because they can range a little bit on you, and you obviously want the high end of the range. On the shoulders, Strength Vit, all res, cooldown reduction. It's pretty good. On the gloves, you have a lot of ways you can go with the gloves. There's Strength Vit. Here I'm doing all res and CDR, but you can also get attack speed on your gloves too, so that may be something you want to prioritize. You can also get life on hit on your gloves. So it's a mutable slot for anything where you feel like you're missing out on. If you need more offense with attack speed, if you need more sustainability with life on hit, there's different ways to go there. The pants, Strength Vit, all res, sockets, pretty standard. Boots, I'm going Strength Vit, all res, and armor. You could potentially go with life per second instead of armor, or movement speed instead of armor, but I think armor kind of works the best, and then you just max out your movement speed with Paragon. You're good to go anyway. So that's the 6 pieces of the actual set. The weapon, you're like, whoa, 343, what? That's crazy. Well, you want to roll the damage off because the damage range of your weapon doesn't matter at all. It's all about boosting up your thorns. So we got Strength Vit, attack speed, life on hit, cooldown reduction, and then a Ramalani's put a socket on there. And you can see if you socket a Topaz, you get a ton of thorns damage. So that's really what, this is the ideal weapon to have, and those are the ideal rolls to get as well too. Having it ancient, again, doesn't matter for the damage because you're like, well, you rolled off the damage, but you get higher ranges on those primaries, on the strength and the vit, so you want that to kind of boost you up to get more out of those. Again, the main stat's important, and the vit's important, which we'll get to once we talk about the cube. The shield I showed already, Foitoya Spiker. This one is, it's definitely an option. You can also go with a Akarat's Awakening that you actually wear, and then it gives you more cube options. So between those two, you can pick. But here we have a Foitoya Spiker, Strength Vit, chance to block, and cooldown reduction. And I wish that cooldown was an 8%, but we take what we can get. And it always comes with Thorns damage as a secondary, so that makes that shield really nice. Again, for weapons too, I forgot to mention, there is the hack weapon. And that comes with a little bit of bonus damage to Thorns. It's really good for single target. It doubles your Thorns at 100% at the maximum on that legendary power. So it could be good, but Pick Sticker just better because you can get 5 primary stats on a Pick Sticker, and that's huge. Get all the things that you want. The belt, super important. Belt of the Trove, you need this if you're not going to use Bombardment on your skill bar in order to cast Bombardment for you and activate that 4-piece part of the set for that damage reduction. This is the belt that you want, pretty much. Strength Vit, all res, life percent. What you would like is for it to come with all of those naturally, and then re-roll the secondary to Thorns damage. That would be like the perfect belt, but this is the one we got, so we're using it for now. Let's go into rings. We're using the new set, the Compass Rose, and the Traveler's Pledge, which is the amulet. And you're like, don't those suck? No, man, they made them so much better in this patch. So now there's a 2-piece bonus, 2-set bonus. While you're moving, your damage taken is reduced by up to 50%. And while you're standing still, your damage is increased by 100%. So you can see down here right now, we have the 100% because we haven't moved our character. But as we move, you can see it actually starts to go down, and the other part of it starts to go up. So now we have the 50% damage reduction, but now we're standing still, so we're losing some of that, and the offensive part is going up. So that's how those 2 rings work. It's a really interesting dynamic, so you can move around if you need more damage reduction. You can stand completely still if you want damage increase, and because this build likes to stand still right in the middle of stuff, this is a really good way to boost up our damage. On your rings, again, a little bit more room to kind of experiment here. Compass Rose comes with 5 primaries, so that's really nice. So you can go Strength Vit, here I have all res and cooldown reduction, and then a socket because I rolled off the movement speed. It always comes with movement speed, so you kind of want the other rolls to be nice, so you can roll the movement speed off for socket. This one, I don't know, I like strength, I like Vit. All res maybe, it makes you extra tankier, but maybe you want attack speed here. You could get life on hit here as well too. So there's, again, some room, some wiggle room there. But definitely a socket. We'll talk about the gems. You can see there's a new one there. And the secondary, of course, would be nice if you could get more Thorns, but so be it. And then the matching amulet. Here we have physical damage, strength Vit, and a socket. Definitely you want physical on your amulet, and then strength Vit, it works out. Maybe you want CDR, maybe you want attack speed. Again, another kind of mutable slot. I'm not quite sure exactly what's going to be ideal there. There's always room for you know, changing things around and seeing what works best for you. So don't be afraid to play a little bit. But yeah, again, it would be nice to get Thorns on the secondary. And then the other ring is the Justice Lantern, which got a new power in this patch. So now when you when you have a high block chance, you gain damage reduction equal to a certain percent. Ranges from 45 to 55. Here I have a 51%, which is okay. So you can think if you can get up to 100% block chance on your sheet here, it says that block chance is capped at 75%, which is maybe true. We kind of have some theories that it actually goes higher. On the sheet, however, you can still get up to like 100% block chance on the sheet, even though you'd only be getting 75% block chance. So that works because it's going to scale with your Justice Lantern, so you want that block chance as high as possible. And then when we activate something like Hit Me, boom, we go to 100%. So there you go. And now we're getting that full 51% damage reduction from Justice Lantern. And Justice Lantern is nice because it comes with block chance every time. You got some strength, you got some vid on here, and rerolled cooldown reduction, and then a socket on here as well too. So there's some room to play around there. It's another one of those 5 primary rings, so that's kind of nice. And last but not least, the chest piece. So there's no chest in this set, which is really interesting because that gives you some options on what to wear. Ideally, there are 2 chests that you want to wear: the Achilles Cuirass or the Heart of Iron. You really want to pick the one that rolled best for you, and then just go with that and cube the other one. It's usually really nice to get an Achilles Cuirass to wear because the Heart of Iron has a big damage, or it has a big range for its legendary power. So if you cube it, you're going to get the maximum. And here we don't really care about what the range is on that legendary power because we're always going to be above that percent because we don't spend any resources. So here I have Strength, Vit, All Res, and Sockets. There's something to be said about reduced damage from elites. That could be a potentially good thing to roll on there instead. Here I actually rerolled my secondary just to get more Thorns damage. But the kicker here is that you get a 50% damage reduction whenever you're above a certain amount of your primary resource. And again, we don't spend, so we always have this 50% damage reduction. It's really what goes into the tankiness of this build. As for the gems, we're using Bane of the Trapped. Again, you know, the main offensive gem, super tank or super damage output. You want that. You're always in melee range. Things are always slowed around you, so it's good. We go with the Bane of the Stricken. Helps to kill the Rift Guardian very quickly, although we're really good at that anyways because we do such good single target. So there is that. You could potentially go with like a Gogok of Swiftness for some more attack speed and cooldown reduction. You could go with a Bane of the Powerful for speed farming because you're going to be killing elites so quickly. That buff will always be up. There's some couple of options you can play around with there. And then Boyarsky's Chip, super important, absolutely staple of the build. It's the gem that they added for this patch, and it's just straight up gives you more Thorns damage. And the second part of it is that it taunts the first enemy that you hit by your primary skills for 2 seconds. So you can kind of hit some enemies along the way and taunt them, make them follow you, which is good. Let's talk about the cube. So you can see here for my cube stuff, I have Akarat's Awakening. Every successful block has a 25% chance to reduce all cooldowns by 1 second. That is massively powerful. We have huge block chance, so we're getting a lot of blocks. And then there's that 25% chance to reduce every single, like when all your skills are on cooldown and this works, it takes a second off of all of them. It's not like the Obsidian Ring where it picks one randomly. It takes a second off of all of them. So you can imagine with a ton of blocks, skills that get channeled like Orlash's Lightning Breath thing, some of the other skills in the game that monsters use, you get a ton of blocks and just reset all your cooldowns instantly. Fire Chains, Electrified, you get a lot of blocks off of. So this is a super, super important shield. If you can get a really good one of this, you can wear it, and then this opens up that slot for you, so you can go with maybe, you know, a Furnace, a Blood Brother. There's lots of other options there. But if you are wearing like a Voitoya Spiker, or maybe the Act 2 Bounty Bag Shield, then you want to cube an Akarat's Awakening just to really push the build further. Like I was mentioning, for the armor, we're going Heart of Iron, so if you don't have the Achilles Cuirass, or if you have an Achilles Cuirass that you're wearing, you cube the Heart of Iron. Reverse, you know, if you're wearing a Heart of Iron, cube the Achilles Cuirass, but this is the ideal way to do it. And here you can see that Thorns gets a bonus that's equal to 300% of your Vitality. 300% is the max on that power. And so that's why Vitality is so important. That's why we have Vit on so many parts of our gear. And again, that's feeding into the tankiness of this thing too. So Vit's really nice because it will further bolster your Thorns output on the flat percent of Thorns. So you can see here we have 271,570 Thorns, and that's being bolstered by that Heart of the Iron power. Last but not least, our jewelry, convention of elements. Like I was mentioning, when this physical portion comes around, that's when you want to just blow all your cooldowns. You know, you pop your Iron Skin, you pop your Akarat's Champion, and it really like pushes your damage through the roof because you'll just do so much in that short window of time. It's really, really solid. I can't really fathom any other choices for the jewelry slot. Last but not least, Paragon. It's pretty standard as per usual. Max out the movement speed. We re-rolled a lot of the movement speed off of our gear, so max it out here, the rest into strength. You may be thinking, why not put the rest into Vid? Because we have that Heart of Iron that boosts up our Thorns. Well, the multiplier from strength is just so good, especially when you combine it with Finery too. You want to go with strength. Like, Vid is nice, but it doesn't ever catch up to the just amount of damage output you get from strength. So definitely go strength. Offense, cooldown reduction, and attack speed are the two that you want to focus on. I would go CDR first, then attack speed. These two don't actually matter because Thorns don't crit, like I mentioned previously. Defense, I would go all res, and then maybe armor, then maybe life regen, and then life percent. Life percent ends up being nice because we have such a high base of Vit. Then each percent of, you know, life percent gives you a little bit more. So there's room there. And then last but not least, resource cost reduction we can pretty much ignore because we don't ever spend. So I would go with area damage because Thorns is affected by area damage. Life on hit, and then, you know, gold find if you're doing regular rifts or something, places where gold drops. But for GRs, there's no gold, so gold find doesn't really matter. So life on hit, area damage, two ones that you want to care about there the most. And with that, that is the breakdown. Your follower kind of matters, but doesn't really matter. It's pretty standard setup here. Follower can't die. Thunder Fury to slow some mobs down. Overwhelming Desire to get that damage bonus sometimes. Freeze of Deflection kind of helps to slow some enemies down. If they attack him and he blocks it, can get a freeze. It's nice if you're in trouble. I have the Oculus ring on here, and the follower needs to get the kill in order to proc the Oculus, so it's not very reliable, but it's kind of nice if you want some just random DPS increase from time to time. But that's the build. That's it pretty much in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed that little blow through of the whole thing. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be here to answer them. Potentially be revising the build too as I discover new things, as I push up into higher GRs, all that good stuff. But for now, we're gonna hop back into our little video here and fast forward it to show you guys the clear of the Rift Guardian, because it's really cool to watch how the Rift Guardian goes down. We just absolutely shred it in Thorns of the Invoker. So I hope you guys have a great day. Feel free to like the video if you like the build, if you try the build and it works out really well for you. Definitely subscribe to the channel for more Crusader content. I'll be doing that all Season 5 long. I'll also be working on some other things as well too, so feel free to come and check things out. And until that time, I'll be seeing you.